Some artworks are frank in the way they address their viewers. "Here I am," they seem to say, "make of me what you will." Others are more circumspect, diffident, even secretive. Rodin's The Earth and the Moon belongs in the latter group. It has a back, an unworked plane that is often put against the wall, but it's not so clear that it has a front. When you stand directly in front of it, the figures, or at least the parts of them that you can see, don't really add up. Seen from the left, the sculpture literally turns its back on you. It only really makes sense seen obliquely from the right, from where both figures can be seen and a sense of their relationship intuited. As the sculpture draws you in, it gradually undermines that initial response. The two figures look at first to be wrapped up in themselves, one suspended above the other. I'll call the top one Moon and the lower one Earth, although Rodin was almost certainly not thinking of Earth and Moon when he made the sculpture. Titles generally came later. Neither of the figures are much affected by gravity. Moon leaps, or floats, or possibly rests on a convenient outcrop of rock. The sculpture does not explain. And Earth, although more vertical, is balanced on the very tip of one toe, without any suggestion of strain, or even weight. The rock has been hollowed out below her outstretched foot and chased as though the ground were shying away from contact. Their heads, shaded by Moon's arm, are in the deepest recess of the sculpture. They form a cleft in the rock. The nature of their relationship is unclear. At first glance, they seem to be locked in a passionate embrace, but the longer you look, the less certain you become. Moon's encircling arm brushes against Earth's hair, but the fingers are closing almost to a fist. It is not a transparently affectionate gesture. And Earth seems at first to rest her hand on Moon's breast. But when you look closer, you realise that this is Moon's own hand. Earth's arm flexes out at the elbow and then back toward her torso, almost as if she were flinching or trying to shield herself from unwanted contact. Her head is not raised for a kiss, but lowered. What looked at first like loving intimacy is troubled by aggressive intimations and defensive postures. Their relationship to one another and to gravity can be explained at one level by Rodin's working process. The two figures existed independently before they were brought together in the sculpture. Earth first appeared in 1886 as Fatigue, lying on her side with a cushion underneath to push her hips outwards. And Moon features in a later work, Venus and Andromeda, although in this sculpture her head is turned in the opposite direction. Rodin habitually reused figures in different sculptures. He worked in clay, and after modelling a figure, he had multiple copies cast in plaster, and kept a whole library of cast bodies and body parts in his studio that he used to experiment with and to construct sculptures. He brought two casts together to create the Earth and the Moon. However, the head and right arm of Moon were wrong, so he simply snapped them off and attached a different head, then with the wet plaster indicated where the right arm should go. We know all this because Rodin's plaster maquette still exists in the Musée Rodin in Paris, and it's a wonderfully rough object that enables you to see his thinking. His working process explains the lack of relationship between the two figures, as they were conceived individually, not as a couple. It also explains their strange weightlessness, as they were originally modelled in quite different positions. However, the working process doesn't explain the secretiveness. The sculpture is less about showing than about concealing. It is, it implies, a secret to which only a few are admitted. Of course, this isn't literally true. The sculpture is on public display where it's seen and loved by many, but this is how it feels when you stand beside it. If the sculpture is an expression of love, why would it hide? It's not what it hides, but the fact that it hides that makes viewers uneasy. Hiding can be used to imply a greater intimacy than that actually shown, but it can also undermine the surface meaning, the romantic clinch, which the separateness of the two figures has already diminished. Rodin's arrangement strips the couple of their emotional gravity. The gesture, the embrace, remains, but drifts from meaning into mystery, from brightness to shadow. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, or visit my channel, Think of a Picture, where you'll find lots more like this. Thank you.